Okay, it has been 1 month since we started this mead, and we racked it last week. So at the 3-week mark, we went ahead and racked. And the reason why is that it looked as if, and as you can see, as I'm going around, you see a washcloth behind it. And on the other side, you can see the stove, and so it's extremely clear. But we racked it at the 3rd week, and the reason why is that it was hardly bubbling at all. We were hardly getting a bubble, so we thought that it had finished. We took a gravity reading, and it was at 1.000. And so it had pretty much finished. So we wanted to go ahead and rack it and just, clean out the sediment. And as you can see, most of the sediment is gone. We still have a layer of sediment on the bottom. And so we're going to rack it one more time. After this racking, we'll let it set for 1 more week. And then after that, we will degas. We will add the sorbate. We'll add the potassium metabisulfite. And then it will set for another week. But this will be the 2nd racking. Yeah, so we didn't make a video of the 1st racking because it was late at night. And it was pretty quick. It's the only thing that we had to do last week. But we're going to rack it for a 2nd time. Again, it's been exactly a week later. And what we're going to be doing this time is exactly what we did a week ago. And so this is going to be the 2nd racking. It was exactly like the 1st racking. And we're going to show you that next. Okay, before we rack, we want to show you the equipment you'll need to rack. First, you'll need a racking cane and the tube. This was cleaned in 1-step cleaner. And it was sanitized in sodium metabisulfite. Also, we have the test tube so that we can take a gravity reading. And again, it was cleaned with 1-step cleaner and sanitized with sodium metabisulfite. And finally, this is the hydrometer, which we will test the gravity with in just a moment. You don't have to test the gravity if it's your first racking. And the reason why is that you may just want to rack off the mead from the sediment just to clean it up and get better clarity. But before you bottle, you definitely want a hydrometer and a test tube because you want to make sure that your specific gravity is below 1. Or if it's done fermenting, you want to know where the sugars are because you're going to end up, especially if you're over 1, you risk running a 2nd fermentation if you don't use potassium sorbate and potassium metabisulfite. And so you definitely want to check the gravity before you bottle. We test every time that we rack it just to see where the mead is and how it's going. We'll test it this time and it should be under 1 because last week it was right at 1. Also, here's the carboy, the 2nd carboy that we will be racking into. And we're going to get it set up and show you that next. Alright, so first what you want to do is you want to take the racking cane and you want to get the tube, this part of the tube, and you want to be careful not to touch anything. But you want to get this part of the tube into the carboy that's been cleaned and sanitized that you're going to be racking into. And you want to carefully put the cane at the top, but you have to be careful to make sure, and you can look down here, to make sure that this does not come out of the top of the carboy you're racking into. After that, you want to lift up. It'll pull some meat in, and then you press. And if you don't get it the first time, you may have to do this a couple of times. And then finally it'll go, and it's going now. So what you're using is the suction from the racking cane. And after it gets going, it uses that suction and gravity to move the mead from the top carboy all the way down here. And as you can see through, and you can see the cane in the mead. And what you don't want to do is put that all the way on the bottom because there is sediment on the bottom. Even though this mead looks really clear already, there is some sediment on the bottom that you do not want in your 2nd carboy. You want to get all of the sediment out you possibly can so that you have a very clean finished product. So you've really got to watch this, and as it's going, I'm watching where this cane is in the sediment. because I have to make sure that I'm not on bottom. Once I have it at a good spot, I kind of want to just hold it there. Let me try to get it around, actually. I'm moving the cane around a little more than I really like to. But I'm pretty happy where it's at right now. So I'm going to try to hold it steady right there. Now, as it goes further and further down, I'm going to have to start tilting. And that can be difficult because when you start to tilt, some of the sediment wants to move towards the racking cane, the bottom of that racking cane, and it can be difficult to keep all the sediment out. Okay, so we're going to finish racking, and when we do, I'll show you the second carboy and what it looks like. It'll even be more clear than it is now. Okay, so as you can see, I have tilted the carboy and I have some washcloths on this side, and I have the racking cane very close to the bottom, but it's not on sediment. And so by tilting like this, it's going to help you get all of the mead that you possibly can so that you're not wasting any of the mead. So there's the racking cane, and that looks really good. That's a good depth. And with the way that we have it tilted, we should get almost all of the mead out. And as you can see over here, you can see the sediment that's being left behind. And that's really, really good. Okay, we'll show you the next step as soon as this finishes. Okay, so we are finished racking over the mead into the new carboy, and as you can see, it is really, really, really clear. It's really beautiful. And so this looks great. The clarity on it is just exactly what we were looking for. So the clarity looks really good. We're still going to let it set for about another week, just to make sure there's no more dead yeast, there's no more bentonite, nothing else at all. We'll rack it one more time after this before we add the potassium sorbate and the metabisulfite. So I wanted to show you what was left behind. And as you can see, that absolutely is not clear, right? So that's probably a quarter to a third of a 750 milliliter bottle, but as you can see, it absolutely is not clear, and so we don't want that to go into our finished mead because obviously this is beautiful. This is just a really pretty golden mead. It has great clarity. It's extremely clear, and so we have left behind the dead yeast and some of the bentonite, and so you lose some mead, and of course that's sad. You want to try to keep all the mead you possibly can, especially after all the hard work of making the mead. But ultimately, the finished product, whenever it's clear like this, is just really, really beautiful. And so when you give it away to friends, you can be really happy with this product. Some people who make mead don't care at all about the sediment, and they will just go ahead and bottle with the sediment in the bottles and let it settle in the bottles. But of course, if you go to pour, sometimes it shakes the sediment up, and then whenever it's in the glass, you have something that looks a little more like this than like this. And so we like it to be really clear, so if we give it away to any friends, you know, we don't have to worry about clarity. It looks beautiful. It's really golden, and it's awesome. All right, so next we're going to show you the specific gravity and try to find out if the specific gravity is under 1 now. If it is, then we know this mead is completely finished. And we'll just let it set for another week, and then we'll go ahead and add the potassium sorbate and the potassium metabisulfite. Okay, so my wife and I were talking about it, and this is so clear. The clarity is so great on this mead. We're thinking about going ahead and finishing tonight, which will mean adding the potassium sorbate and potassium metabisulfite. But that is conditional on the hydrometer reading. So if the hydrometer reading says that the mead is at 0.998 or less, then we will go ahead and finish. If not, then we'll put the bung, the cap, and the airlock back on and let it set for 1 week to make sure that it's absolutely finished. But if after taking the specific gravity reading we're below 0.998 or at 0.998 or less, then we're going to go ahead and degas, add the sorbate and the potassium metabisulfite tonight. Alright, so we'll show you that next. Alright, so we wanted to show this at a different angle so you could see that the specific gravity is definitely below the 1 mark. And looking at that looks closer to 0.995 now that we have a really good light on it. We knew that it was at least 0.998. And so this is definitely finished. My wife said she wants to go ahead and finish it tonight and to degas it since it is under the 1 mark, right?
Right.
And so that is what we're going to do. Okay, so we will show you that step next. And also we're going to have a taste test and we'll let you know how it tastes. Okay, so this is how the mead looks in the glass. And so it looks great. It's really clear. And the smell, the aroma of the mead is incredible. It's really, really good. It's a strong honey aroma, and so it's great. All right, so my wife's going to taste test, and then I'll taste test. Go ahead.
Smells really, really good. And it's a lot better than last time. Still needs some time to age.
Yeah, it is way better, isn't it? Yeah, so we racked last week, and it was really strong. And so just with 1 week of aging, it's a lot better. It's a lot smoother. It's what a lot of mead makers call the mead is still hot. It's where you can taste the alcohol flavor really strong. And last week, it was a lot hotter than it is right now. And so it's beautiful. It smells great. The clarity is wonderful. And so I'm going to take my wife's advice, and we are going to go ahead and finish and degas tonight. So we'll show you that next. Okay, so we have the whipping cane here. We have the drill just behind us. And so we're just about ready to degas. Also, I wanted to show you we're going to add the potassium metabisulfite. And as you can see, it's 1/4 teaspoon per 6 gallons. And we are going to add 1/4. There's 2 different thoughts on this, that you could add 1/4 of a teaspoon for 6 gallons or 1/2 teaspoon. Either one of those is okay. We've researched it, and we've looked on different packages at our brew shop, and some of the brew shop packages with the potassium metabisulfite say 1/2 teaspoon, and some say 1/4 teaspoon. We researched if there was any danger of adding the 1/2 teaspoon, and there's not. And that's usually what we add. We go ahead and add the 1/2 teaspoon per 6 gallons. And this is a 5 gallon, but we're still going to add 1/2 teaspoon. So it's a little more than suggested, but that's not going to hurt. This is potassium sorbate. And so potassium sorbate, you add 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. So that means we're going to add 2.5 teaspoons to the 5 gallons. Okay, so we'll do that first, and then after we add it, we will degas. We'll show you those steps next. Okay, so before we degas and add the potassium sorbate and potassium metabisulfite, again, I wanted to reiterate, this is made with the Reed local honey. It's Be Wild, and you can also order it. It is great, great honey, and it made an incredible mead. As you can see, it's really clear. The taste is really, really good, and it's still a very young mead. And we met Wendy and her family at the Texas Mead Fest, and they are an extremely nice family. And it's great to know that you can talk to the people who are actually taking care of the bees, and you can talk to them about where they're taking the bees. It's really neat. And that family is just so nice. They're just an incredible family, and the honey's really, really good. And so we were fortunate to find this honey and to be able to meet the family at the Texas Mead Fest. So I highly recommend this honey. It's incredible. Okay, so here is the potassium metabisulfite, and again, it is a half a teaspoon. So I wanted to tell you what the potassium metabisulfite does. It kills any yeast still in the mead, and so it's going to take out any yeast that's still in the mead. Also, the potassium sorbate, which we have here in a tablespoon measure because it's 2.5 teaspoons, and 3 teaspoons make 1 tablespoon, so we were able to get 2.5 teaspoons in the tablespoon. What potassium sorbate does is that it stops the yeast from being able to produce any new yeast. So these two together will stop any new fermentation. Of course, there's no sugar left in the mead, and it is beautiful. I mean, I really like that color. It's great. But we're going to add both of these to the mead, and then after that, we're going to use the whipping cane to degas. So here we go. So that is the potassium metabisulfite. And now we are going to add the sorbate. Okay. So that will dissolve somewhat, and as you can see, it actually dissolves pretty good. But now we don't have to worry about any clumping or anything like that. We don't have to worry about, if it's going to be mixed in well, because we are about to whip it and whip it good. All right, we'll show you that next. Okay, so now we have the drill and the whipping cane connected, and as you can see, there's a lot of room between where the meat is and the top. So we shouldn't have to worry about foam odor, but we're still going to go slow in the beginning. So we're starting this at 9:24, and as you can see, it's starting to really bubble. We'll reverse, and the reason I'm telling you that time is you need to whip for 5 minutes minimum. So we're now reversing the drill. We're going to make it go the opposite direction, and we're going to keep doing that. Yeah, so when I stop, what I'm doing is reversing the drill. Okay, so we finished whipping, and as you can see, there is a lot of CO2 that's coming out. We could really hear it fizzing towards the end. And of course, the clarity is gone for just a little while, but as soon as that settles down, all the CO2 settles down, it's going to clear right back up. Okay, so we're going to lift this up to the counter. I'm not going to take the whipping cane out while it's on the ground because I don't want this to drip all over the floor. So I'm going to get it really close to the sink, and then after that I'll take the whipping cane out. Okay, so we'll show you the next steps in just a moment. Okay, so my battery gave out on the camera. After we put the carboy up on the sink, it cleared right up. It was just the CO2 that had clouded. Actually, I'll just go ahead and show you. Let me take this shirt off. And so, as you can see, it cleared right up. It's extremely clear again, and this is only, let me look at the clock. So this is only 5 minutes after whipping, and the clarity is incredible. So we put the bung and the airlock and the cap back on the carboy, and we will let this set for right around a week. And then after that, we will decide if we want to bottle or if we want to age it a little longer. Okay, that is it for now.